Good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott Palmer, Executive Officer of the Builders and Remodelers Association of Greater Boston. Welcome to our Bragg webinar, Resume Work Safely. This webinar will be recorded. We'll post it up to YouTube and also to our website for replay. I'm very pleased to introduce Ms. Karen Kelly. She is the Chief Marketing Officer for Tapple, and a product Bragg itself is looking into to use for some of our upcoming events. And our also special guest and longtime member, Luke Ryan from TV25 here in Boston. I'm going to turn this momentarily over to Karen. If you have any questions, you certainly use chat. I'll be monitoring chat. And then also at the end of the call, we'll open up the lines. And if you have any questions, directly ask either Luke or Karen, go right ahead. So I'm going to stop sharing right now and give it over to Ms. Kelly.
Thanks so much, Scott. I'm trying to share mine, and it just says host disabled attendee screen sharing. So it might just be a quick setting there.
Scott, what you do? I'll just show you. Just if you look at your screen share in the bottom there, Scott, there should be an up triangle. If you click on that, and then you have to click on 2 check boxes. It's a new Zoom setting just to enable participants to share their screen.
Everybody's making upgrades to make our lives better, right? All right, awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Scott.
You got that, right?
I got it.
You got it.
And I am going into presentation mode here. So can everybody see everything okay there, Scott and Luke? Can you guys see everything okay?
You're good.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. So thanks again, Scott, for having me. I really appreciate it. As he mentioned, my name is Karen Kelly. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Tapple. We are a local startup, a local technology startup, and was actually introduced to Bragg by Luke Ryan, who is a really an amazing person and an incredibly wonderful executive over at Cox Media. And so really what I'm here to talk about today is how to optimize construction work sites given the mandates that have been imposed by the state and by OSHA. And we have a very specific product for some of the problems that the industry is facing right now. We've been lucky to work with some really blue chip clients like Columbia Construction, who've been very helpful to us, particularly early on in understanding the nuances of sort of the struggle and the friction of operating a construction site right now amidst COVID-19. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into the meat of the matter here. So as the industry opened back up, was one of the earliest to open up, which is great. OSHA and Massachusetts state requirements around daily self-certification for workers, privatization of those results, daily reporting to the state, and being able to provide a contact tracing method should someone get sick. This is the area that we are helping construction companies with. So the idea is that, you know, these sort of long lines that kind of develop at the start of work and the start of getting into a site, and people are sort of sharing pens and paper and things like that. It's creating a lot of friction. At the end of the day, there's really severe penalties here if you don't comply. So the state or OSHA can pause the work, they can pay for a third-party inspector, or they can just completely shut the site down, all of which, of course, we want to avoid. And so really the impact on this as a construction industry, at least within the state of Massachusetts, is that it's creating some site bottlenecks. There's increased costs involved. It's decreasing productivity on the sites. It's putting personal data at risk, right? In terms of having to store all that information that people are providing on a daily basis about their health, about their potential exposure to COVID-19 or symptoms, as well as then on the back end, the reporting headaches to do with, hey, now I've got to take all these pieces of paper, oftentimes which is being done manually now, of people, you know, checking all these boxes, filling out their name and their phone number, their name and email, and now I've got to take them, I've got to compile them, and I've got to get them to the state on a daily basis. And really, this sort of constellation of issues and friction is the problem that we solve. But I think it's also important to mention, and this is something that we've learned from our clients, is that, you know, all of those sort of check boxes, if you will, from the state and OSHA are incredibly important to run your business and make it profitable. But that being said, we also understand that, you know, the workers that show up every day, that they feel comfortable and that they feel safe, and that they feel like, you know, coming to work is something that they want to do. And so being able to provide that peace of mind to them as well as to you is incredibly important. And so we think about that in terms of the problem we're solving as well. So if you think about a typical setup for doing self-certification on site, so as the workers show up to sites, really I think it's 12-hour shifts, right? So maybe first thing in the morning, 6 a.m., and then again in the middle of the night, having people needing to fill out the form. So there's bulk supplies provided by construction companies, pens, papers, things like that. And then what needs to happen is all the workers need to then, pick these things up, fill them out. Of course, we're passing things back and forth. Maybe they take the pens away with them, maybe they don't. If they do, those need to be resupplied. And then sort of there's like that sort of entry bottleneck issue where people are kind of standing around, they're trying to fill it out. We're trying to make sure everyone's actually filled it out before they enter the building, things like that. You're losing time and productivity aside from the sort of hands-on contact there. And then there's the administrative time. So the upload of all these paper forms online, putting that all together, formalizing that report for the state on a daily basis, and then of course doing it all again the next day. So this is what we've heard from other customers that we're now working with. This was sort of their manual process for self-certification on site. So what we've done is we've created and now sort of honed this solution, which is a contactless health waiver with the highest levels of data security and on-demand reporting, which is built specifically for the construction industry. And it's great to be able to say that at this point, because we've been able to sort of, add features and tweak things about the way that it's being used specifically for the construction industry and what you guys are dealing with right now. And unfortunately, probably will be for at least the next 6 months to a year. So, we pride ourselves on the fact that our technology is actually incredibly easy to use. Our CEO always says that it's simple yet incredibly sophisticated, and I couldn't agree more. It's one of the things I love about it. So what I'd love now is for everybody to have a chance to go ahead and try it out and fill out the form. So the idea is, you see this code on the screen. Well, what does this mean? What do I do with it? The idea is that these codes, it's a QR code, but it's powered by our platform. And the idea is that as workers arrive on site, they can walk up to these codes. You can print as many as you want. And all they have to do is open the camera on their smartphone, point it at the code. You'll see a notification pop, and you can go ahead and do this right now. And when you see that notification pop, you tap it and you're into your mobile health waiver. So there's no contact made with anything, pen, paper, anything like that. They just pull out their smartphone and go ahead and open the camera, point it there. You don't need to take a picture. You just point the camera at the code, the notification pops, you tap it. So if you go ahead and do that right now, you'll see there's an attestation form there. These are completely customizable, of course. You can put whatever statements you need. You can add a picture. You could also add other information. One of the things that we've learned from other construction companies we're working with is that there's a need to also provide other information as we start to move through the different phases of recovery here. So whether that's a video about some new safety procedure or a PDF or something like that you want people to download, it's a really great opportunity also to be able to provide other information to the workers who are coming on site. So if you go ahead and check all those boxes, fill out your name, fill out your phone number, and then hit submit, you're actually going to immediately get an SMS message from us, a text message. And this is a really nice identification verification feature that we have built in. You could choose to use this or not, but here's what it does. It is a way to tie the person who just filled out that information with that phone number with the information they provided to ensure that should someone get sick and you need to do contact tracing, you know that Joe Smith is actually connected to the phone number he provided, because when you get that SMS, there's a link, you need to click it to then move to the end of this mobile waiver experience. And the end of that mobile waiver experience, as you'll see when you try this, is that you get to a final verification screen. And that screen is, hey, welcome to work today, you've been approved. So it's a way to kind of make sure, should you have to contact people after the fact, if someone gets sick, you know exactly who came through the site on which day, and you have a verified way to go ahead and contact them afterwards. This is the 5-step process here, just visualize. So you scan the code with the camera on your phone, you go ahead and fill out the declaration, you sign the form, you click that SMS message that pops up immediately, and then you receive an entry decal. Now, one thing I'll mention here is when you see the instructions that says point smartphone camera at code or scan at getqr.io, there's often a lot of questions around, hey, does every smartphone read QR codes? And the answer is most, but not all. Apple built this into the software about 4 years ago, and Android did it about 3 years ago. So there are some outliers still that don't, but the nice thing is that we created a solution for that. So anyone with a smartphone, anyone that has a mobile browser on their phone can simply go to getqr.io, literally just type that right into your mobile browser as if you were going to type in, say, yahoo.com. Just type in getqr.io, and it will turn your mobile browser into a QR reader. It's free, there's no ads, it's right off our platform. So it's a pretty great solution, I think. So from our perspective, anyone with a smartphone can actually access this because we've built this sort of workaround to the technology. And as you saw, it's really quick to complete. There's no apps to download. Nobody has to log in anywhere. So it's frictionless, it's quick and easy. And it doesn't infringe on people's also sense of, hey, what are you asking me to download? What about my privacy? Things like that. I think that's one of the really nice things about it as well. The data is also, we have end-to-end encryption on all the data. And if you have more questions about that, I'd be happy to go into the technical specs on the data security. I'm not planning on doing that today, but that's a huge value proposition to the platform. So what happens next? Somebody hits submit. You need to do contact tracing, perhaps. Real-time email notification. So the idea is that as soon as you hit submit, there's a feature that you can add so that somebody's inbox gets an email immediately that says, Joe Smith just filled this out. These are the answers he provided. And so if for any reason you want to know as soon as people are filling things out and you want to take a look at their responses, you can do that. If you like, you can turn that on or off. But it's a nice little checkpoint, kind of front office to back office as well. And then thinking about the reports that you would have to generate on a daily basis, they're incredibly easy to kind of view and generate. So you just log into the back of the platform. You can set the date. So on a daily basis, you could just say, I want everything from July 29th. And then what you'll see is the information from the platform in terms of, which digital experience it came from. So for instance, you could name, each one of these mobile experiences a different job site. And so it'd be very easy for you to see, oh, okay, I can see that, over at, say, the Taj, we had 35 people check in today, and over on Marlborough Street, we had 50. So it's a nice way to quickly see where the engagement is coming from, when it happened, and then also be able to see all their attestations. So those 4 columns that you see with the ones, those are all the check boxes. Yes, I self-certify that I have not, had COVID-19 symptoms in the last 2 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. And then the rest is the personal information that you ask them to enter, whether that's name and email or name and phone number. That's all customizable. So it's very easy to get access to this. It's done, and then you take it and just hand it off to the state or any other bodies that you need to report to. So thinking about the manual self-certification costs involved for one site. So pens, papers, increased time entering the site, sort of an average aggregated of about $250 a week. The data scanning, upload, reporting in the back office with pen and paper method for one site. It's about an hour a day at about $75 an hour, which is about $425 a week. And this is actually data that I got from our clients in terms of numbers and time and things like that, which is very helpful. So the total site cost for one construction site for manual entry of all this data and reporting is $2,700 per month. When you think about our costs. So how do we figure out costs for our product? Essentially, it's just based on activity at each site. So we estimate scan counts on a daily basis in increments of 50. And then each scan is $4. So let's give an example. If a site has about 40 workers a day, we would say, okay, we're going to estimate you at about 50 a day, right? You're in the 50 and under bucket. So at 50 scans per day, at $4 per scan, the total site cost for the month is $200. So yes, it's daily activity that determines your monthly cost. So you can compare that sort of really, I love how black and white this is, to be honest with you, sort of the simplicity of like, hey, you can do this and it's a lot more time and energy, or you can just do this and it's sort of all taken care of for you. So if you actually break down these costs even further on the manual side of things, a monthly cost for one site for a manual entry is $2,700, as we discussed. That same site over 6 months is over $16,000. and 10 sites over 6 months is $162,000. Using our product, as I mentioned, so an average monthly cost site for one site, $400. I would say our average site has about 100 workers. So instead of doing 50, I did 100. So 100 workers times $4 per scan, $400. That same site over 6 months is $2,400, and then 10 sites over 6 months is $24,000. So over 6 months, if you have 10 construction sites, it's $138,000 of savings. So it's we try to make onboarding and support just very easy and simple. We want to get people up and running quickly. The platform's very easy to use. That being said, we see it as part of our job to make sure you know how to use it and that you actually implement and get moving. So we offer everyone a live onboarding service. This is a one-time fee of $500. You sit down for an hour. Ourselves and whoever will run the system on your end, we give you a complete overview. We actually set up your entire health certification waiver at that time as well. So by the time we're done, you're all done. You have your QR code, you have your data capture set up, and you're ready to roll. We have email support as well and phone support, and we have enterprise packages as well. We've built some customizations for other clients, so that's available as well. But at this point, I would love to turn it over to Luke Ryan and let him talk a little bit about how you could potentially market this, really sort of forward thinking and also just cost savings to your current clients, but also to prospective clients as well. Luke, would you like me to stop sharing the screen? Do you want to screen share?
Whatever works best for you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Karen. So on our end, the way that we all kind of got together, obviously I'm a Bragby member. I met many of the Bragby members and previous events, and I hope you're all doing really well. Scott and I were talking, and Karen and I were talking separately, and I thought that there was a good connection between Tapple's product for the contactless health screener and the needs that are existing in the construction industry. The connection that I have in this is that my company is able to help with the story and strategy related to getting that message out to the people that you want to reach with it. So I have a team of account executives as well as production folks on my end that can help craft, whether that's video storytelling or any type of digital media that needs to be told. And then using research and analytics to figure out who it is that you want to reach most and what that message should look like. So that way we can help deliver that message to the people when they need it. And that could be maybe to help line you up for your next opportunity as far as your next job site, or maybe it's messaging internally to your community so that they know that you are a safe place to work, for instance, for recruitment. So there's a number of different use cases for it. It really depends on what your needs are. And what we do is we have the backing of a large parent company, which is Cox Media Group out of Atlanta, that has all the resources that you would need for digital marketing. And then locally, you know us as Boston 25, the TV station. So we have all the resources on the production side and television if needed on that end. But really the main way that we help clients is that we help them see their ideas from ideation to fulfillment. So basically turning your ideas into reality. And that really comes in from having a trusted account executive that's going to work with you to think through what is your ideal marketing plan. And then in this case, we would specifically build plans around the touchless health screener and how that is a differentiator for your business and who you're looking to reach with that message. So that's the kind of quick overview.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Luke. I'm just going to go back to sharing here. And really, we're just going to just kind of wrap things up here. I have a list of FAQ questions that I tend to get at the end of a discussion, which I'm happy to go through. And for those of you who are feeling like, hey, I'd like to have a chat and maybe discover a little bit more one-on-one, you can go ahead and scan that code right there with your phone to schedule a call with me. And we can get that scheduled in the next day or so. But I'm in presentation mode here, so I can't actually see if people are writing in chat questions. But I'll just go ahead and start answering these FAQs, and then maybe either if Scott or Luke could fire out if there's any questions written in there, that'd be awesome. So being able to view the data by site, I get asked this a lot. Can I separate the data out, from one site to another? Absolutely. And that's actually how how it comes in as well. So you could do it one of two ways. You could easily just do a quick sort once you get the data, or you could set it up so that all of your different construction sites data are held separately, are siloed separately on the platform. Does it work with every phone? I talked a little bit about this before, but again, it does work with every smartphone. And the idea is that you may not have, they may not have the reader built into the cameras, although I would say, you know, I can't remember the last time I ran into somebody who doesn't, but it does exist. And if that happens, the idea is that we've built a nice workaround there. Just type getqr.io into your mobile browser. You could even try it now if you wanted to, even if you have the reader built into your camera, just to try it out. So the answer is yes to that. Will clients pay for this? So what we've learned from some of our clients is that the answer is yes. They're expecting costs related to COVID-19 to keep the sites running, to keep people healthy, all of that. But you know, some of the other costs that have been sort of given to me as examples is like, you know, my client says, hey, you know, I'm paying $4,000 a week for cleaners to come and clean the sites. You know, paying for Tapple is like nothing in the scope of all of this. So the answer to that is an easy yes. We haven't had anyone report back to us that they've really had issues with that. And I think in the scheme of what businesses are paying for right now, fortunately, we're pretty low cost. How long does it take to get up and running? It's really quick. Like I said, we schedule your onboarding. We spend that hour together, we get it done, and then you are literally ready to go. So you just grab that QR code and you can run with it. I should also mention that every mobile experience, so you know what we created there, what shows up on your phone when you scan, it's a mobile experience. Those are also accessible, as you might imagine, through like a regular URL link to like a website. So if there was a case where you said, hey, you know, I want people to fill this out actually before they get to the work site. I don't want them to show up and maybe be borderline sick. I want them to fill it out ahead of time. You can actually just take that URL and either email it to people ahead of time or text it to people ahead of time, whatever works for you. And then they can just literally click the link and then the same experience launches and they can fill it out ahead of time. And it's the same link every time. So they could go right back to the same link every single time, wouldn't need to resend it. Are discounts available? The answer to that is yes, for particularly high volume businesses, either on the sort of worker side by site or on the number of sites, for sure. And I'm happy to chat about that if that applies to you. We also offer discounts for semi-annual and annual contracts. So if you can kind of see into the future a little bit and feel comfortable, hey, you know, I know I'm going to need this for the next 6 months, and I can get 5% off if I sign up for that now. Then that works as well. You do 10% off if you do an annual contract. And as I mentioned, if you feel like you know enough at this point, or you just have a couple more questions, but you're feeling like you want to start the process moving forward, you can open your phone camera and go ahead and scan that code. We'll schedule the call, or of course, please feel free to send me an email. My name is Karen, Karen @tapple.io. Really, really simple. Or just go ahead and check out our website. It's tapple.io, TAPPLE.io. And you can hit the schedule a demo form there. Any other questions come through on your end, guys?
Hey, Karen and Luke, thank you. I have a question for you. So this, the particular application on resuming work safety, would you say it would be something that, or do you have examples of it being used in a retail/showroom environment?
So not exactly retail/showroom. A lot of this is, as we're finding, as the sort of mandates or pressures shift from either the state or the government or what have you, or industry bodies, different industries are just being required to do different things. We haven't seen retail get the pressure yet to say every single person who walks through the door needs to pull one of these out. And for showrooms, it seems the same way. I've actually talked to a couple guys running car showrooms recently. It seems to be the same. That being said, there are a ton of other industries who are using it. So something kind of adjacent to the sort of building and construction industry is also in the trades, is like businesses like Train, who do heating and cooling. They have, say over 500 job sites a year that they are using our product on currently. So, so something similar. And then also that we have quite a bit of offices, just corporate offices, where people are coming back into work and they want to make sure that they know who's coming in and when they're coming in, and that they're able to do, again, contact tracing should somebody get sick. They're trying to, help people feel safe and more comfortable coming back in. So that's really, that's a lot of what we've seen. We've also seen it in school settings, preschools and things like that. And then I think, very soon there will be more recommendations made on the state level, but nationally for say grammar schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and whether or not they're going to need to do something like this as well.
In that school setting, would that be something that students would do every day?
I think actually be more for teachers and administrators.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of difficult to get students to do that every day, but teachers for sure, staff. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my son's preschool is required to do attestations, and I fill it out every day.
Right. Right.
So his behalf. So, it'll be interesting to see what the requirements come down to there. Particularly, on the side of things where they really need to keep track of who's coming in and out every day, because if they do some kind of altered schedule, and of course kids get sick or this or that with other things too, right? It's like, so who was actually physically in the building, who wasn't. I think that could be vital.
Certainly.
I actually had a question back for Scott. Scott, has this come up in conversation in a previous meeting with the group, as far as what do we do with the mandates for attestations?
The mandates for what?
Sorry, the mandates for health screening attestations. I might be saying that wrong. I apologize.
I mean, every company has some level of exposure prevention protocol. I don't know if there's any what I would call mobile screening going on. I think most of the teams are all small enough that they just do it, with a report to their project manager. Hey, how you feeling today? I don't know of anybody that's actually doing any what I would call technical screening, if you will. But I'm sure they all have some protocol in place to ensure that the work team coming on site has at least passed some precautionary questionnaire or thing to get on site to the job.
Yeah, they OSHA and the state actually have some pretty strict regulations on that. So I guess it's a matter of compliance, right? And it's interesting. I would actually love to talk to some of the members too and just get their perspective as well. Any other questions I can answer, guys? Or anything?
Yeah, if anybody has a question, nothing came through on chat, but if anybody has a question, feel free to unmute your phone and ask either Karen or Luke directly.
By the way, I will say on Luke's behalf, Luke has actually helped my husband's business get up and running again. Different industry, medical industry, but really, really absolutely just catapulted them back into business about 2 months ago, and got ahead of all of his competitors in terms of, hey, we're open and we've got safety precautions in place, and now it's amazing actually. Their revenue is like 5% lower than it would have been, that it was a year ago. So they're basically back to pre-COVID revenue. And he credits them a lot with that. So you guys did a good job with that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to put together, and I think a big part of this new world that everyone's living in, and especially the business community too, is the ability to create like an adaptive marketing plan, or really an adaptive business plan. It doesn't have to just be a marketing plan, because we don't know which way we're going. Like right now we're phase 3A, right? We'll call it, and 3B is coming up, or maybe we go backwards a little bit. So you need to have plans and strategies depending on what your workforce and your consumers and the government is telling you, so that you can not be caught off guard like COVID caught everyone off guard, because no one had a plan for this. There was no plan C for COVID. But now, knowing that we do have this different, almost like if you remember back after 9/11, when they had the threat levels going up and down related to kind of what's going on geopolitically, the same type of thing exists related to COVID's threat. and how that represents or how that affects your business. And we help clients with thinking that through so they can get in front of those potential challenges and opportunities, really, in some ways too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Actually, there's a lot of obviously there's a lot of frustration and negatives about the current environment, but there's also a ton of opportunity. And if you can be agile and use a service like you guys and really just kind of get a message out there that's really like powerful and relevant now. It's almost like, in terms of thinking about bang for your buck, right? It's like, it's easier to break through now with the right message.
Oh,
way
yeah.
easier.
Absolutely. And were there other just some of the folks that were in the chat right now and watching in? Were there other specific industry questions that you had related to kind of your challenges that we might be able to think through with the last few minutes here? Might not get any takers, but thought I'd throw that out there. How about in your end,
It was
Scott?
a good question, Luke.
Trying. We'll ask one back for you, Scott, then. What are the main concerns for Bragby members at this moment? I know that we had conversations at the early stages of COVID, but what is everyone talking about right now? What's on everyone's radar?
Well, from the builder perspective, which is 40+% of our members, there are still ongoing issues town to town within our footprint, and we cover 130 towns or municipalities in Eastern Massachusetts. There's still town by town issues with getting permits and inspections for construction projects. So we're still trying to figure that out. And then, unsurprisingly, there are beginning to show up some supply chain issues on certain product lines. So I've been to some of our area supply houses, and all of them are expressing their concern with dwindling stocks of certain items, especially around decking. Apparently, everybody in the world is building some sort of deck right now, or rebuilding their deck. And most of the production had ground to a halt when this all started. So there's a supply chain issue there. And then there's still, and I think you're well aware of this, Luke, there's still concern with the future of remodeling going on inside someone's house. I don't think I think there's plenty of activity of new builds. There's plenty of activity on additions that you're not really encroaching upon the inside the house. But I think those jobs of going into the kitchen or into the bathroom is still a little bit of market hesitation there. But I do see sort of a growing emergence on HEPA filtered air systems to keep the work environment, filtered safely. I think we'll see more of those being used. I mean, we already have the wash stations. We already have, separating the workspace, et cetera. But I think now we'll start to see more things around because of the ongoing complaint about this virus hanging in the air for longer than expected. I think we'll see more and more filtration systems that are pooling air through a HEPA filter and effectively cleaning it, where in the past it just didn't do that. So those are some of the things I think they're addressing. On the associate side, we have many associate members are struggling just because of the nature of their business in this environment. So not the supply houses, they're all very busy, but some of the other groups are not doing quite as well by degrees. But of all the verticals, I'd say the home industry had done quite well during this catastrophe, remarkably. Unlike in 2008, 2009, when this was the one that was hit the worst. I guess everybody gets a turn, right?
And actually, across our entire company, we've actually identified home services as one of the biggest growing areas for marketing, and especially, as you mentioned, outdoor marketing. And a couple of things that we've run into, as you mentioned, supply chain issues. One was pressure treated wood comes up regularly, and
Right.
the other was appliances. appliances, I think it's, you know, very difficult to get a second or a third freezer or refrigerator right now. And some of those other types of things that when folks are thinking about, okay, September's coming up, winter's coming up, am I going to need a little bit more than normal in terms of a hunker down, you know, if that is what the reality is for the winter. So
Well,
were there other ones that came up as far as what else was disrupted in the supply chain?
no, you're right. Pressure treated lumber was one of the main ones for sure. And just various stock items. But I think it was mostly that kind of material, straight material. So if no questions came through, I do appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. Karen Kelly, really a pleasure hearing about Tapple's product, and I think it's a great application. I can't wait to actually start utilizing it for some of the ideas we have. And as always, Luke Ryan, it's really great to have you on board and being a member of ours, a great supporter of ours, and always a pleasure to have you involved. So thank you all. And with that, we'll end the webinar for today.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.